Well, good evening and welcome back to the War Games table. Today we're going to be playing a battle using Warhammer Fantasy Battle 3rd edition rules. Now there's a few things that I want to mention about this. Firstly is that although my last couple of battle reports have been sci-fi and fantasy, I'm really a historical gamer at heart, so hopefully this will be interesting to the people who have subscribed to the channel. Secondly, these units here are 10mm, and while there is Mini Hammer, which is half-scale Warhammer with individual figures, these are all based in a single unit. So this is some Ghouls, for example. And so I'm essentially saying that a base like this represents 5 figures. And then if I need to, I can use dice to represent casualties in that row until there's no longer there. So this is a unit of 10, this is a unit of 15, here's a unit of 5, these are cavalry, so they're double depth, and so on. And with that, let's go look at the armies we're going to be playing with and a bit more about the rules. These are our Chaos Dwarfs. We have some Chaos Goblins, and these have a Chaos mutation of Weapon Masters and Scaly Skin, which means they have +1 to their save and +1 to their weapon skill. This is a unit of Chaos Centaurs, and they have razor sharp fangs and sharp claws, so they get basically get a second round of attacks after their usual attacks, which are at either +1 to hit or +1 strength, -1 save modifier. This is our unit of warriors with our general. This is a level 15 Chaos Dwarf hero. You can't actually buy Chaos Dwarf heroes individually in the 3rd edition rules, but you can upgrade a unit with them, and it simply says the unit with the highest, or the character with the highest leadership leads the force. So that's what we've got over here. Over here we've got another unit of Chaos Goblins with bows, and another unit over here with bows. Now this unit also has a Chaos gift, and that is Cowardice, so it fears everyone that outnumbers it, and it must pass a cool test before charging. So that's our Chaos Dwarf army. It's about 700 points. By comparison, this is our rather small Undead army. We have 2 units of 10 Ghouls on the flanks, and we have 2 units of 15 skeletons with spears and shields, and we have a unit of Death Riders, which are just their skeleton cavalry. This character here who's in this unit is the Necromancer. He is a level 1 Necromancer, which is a Necrus Adept, which means he gets 3 level 1 Necromancy spells, and they're randomly generated. And the spells he got were Summon Undead Champion and Hand of Death. And so in 3rd edition, you can cast protective and long-lasting spells before the battle. So he rolled his dice to find out how many magic points he had, and he got 14. So as a result, he cast Summon Undead Champion for all 3 of these units here, to allow them to have their own command and not need him to be part of them. One of the problems with Undead is that if they're not led by a leader, then they suffer from stupidity. So in this case, everyone's covered. The Hand of Death spell he has is something that he casts on himself, and that means that any hits that he gets automatically wound. And he only has 1 attack, and he only has 1 wound. Hand of Death this is dispelled if you take a wound, but if he takes a wound, he's dead anyway, so it's no big deal. I'm not going to cast Summon Undead Champion on these 2 units over here, but we might do it during the game if the unit he's in loses its champion. He can recreate it with some of his remaining magic points. So let's get going with the first turn. The first thing we're going to do is roll off to find out who moves first, or who goes first. So red dice being the Chaos Dwarfs, they go first. Now, there's limited ranged fire in my armies. The Undead have none, and the Chaos Dwarfs just have it on their Chaos Goblins, and they have a range in my half-scale world of 12 inches. So there's going to be a bit of movement first on both sides before anything is possible to happen. So let's fast forward probably the first turn, maybe the first turn and a half, until the sides are closer together and something's actually starting to happen. The skeletons move forward as would be expected, and then back to the dwarf turn. These units have finished their change of formation into a line, effectively a long, wide formation for arrow fire. I forgot to declare charges with my Centaurs, who would have been in range, so they can't charge this turn. But now we're going to do some shooting. Now the movement's complete, and we're going to go into shooting. This unit of Chaos Goblins is going to shoot that unit of Ghouls. It's over half range, so it's -1 to hit for that, and they moved, so it's -1 to hit again, so overall -2. With a ballistic skill of 3, they would normally need 4s, but because of the -2, they'll need 6s. So 1 hit on the first roll, so they cause 1 hit, and it is a strength of 3 versus a toughness of 4, so they need 5s to cause a wound. They don't cause a wound. will now have these Chaos Goblins fire at the Death Riders. If the Death Riders were in charge range, then they would need to pass a fear test to do that. Luckily, they're just outside of charge range, so they can fire at the Death Riders without testing for fear. They'll have exactly the same penalties. They moved, and they're firing at over half range, so they'll need 6s to hit, and they'll get 10 shots. So nothing there, and 1 hit. Now it's strength 3 against a toughness of 3, so it needs 4s, and it doesn't wound either. And the last unit of Chaos Goblins at those Gauls, you know the score, 6s, 1 6, and that's it. So 1 6 with a strength 3, toughness 4, they need 5s, they don't get anything. So shooting very ineffective this turn. In the example game I did for myself before this, the shooting from these Chaos Goblins was so effective it basically wiped out half the Undead army. It was quite spectacular. I guess there is room for that yet, so let's not count our chickens before they're laid. So the Undead have done a bit of movement. Right, in the Chaos Dwarf turn 3, I'm going to declare a charge with these Chaos Centaurs, charge into the Death Riders. There are reactions to charges, but the Death Knights can only flee, which they won't do because they're immune to psychology, or hold their ground, so they're obviously going to hold their ground. Now I'll do the rest of the movement, which will just be these warriors. And now onto shooting. Right, I'm just going to roll the shooting for these Chaos Goblins at the respective units of Ghouls. So in close combat, if you charge, you strike first. Otherwise, you strike in initiative order. In this case, the Chaos Centaurs charged, so whatever happens, they strike first. They have a weapon skill of 3, and the Death Riders have a weapon skill of 2. So that means they have 5 attacks, because there's 5 in there, hitting on 4s. Because the default, comparing weapon skill to weapon skill, is a 5-up, not a 4-up, as it would be in later editions. So they'll need 4s. So 1, 2, 3 hits. They have a strength of 4, but because they have double-handed weapons, that will become strength of 5 against toughness 3. So they will need 2s to wound. So they get 2 wounds. And the Death Riders would be able to save on a 5-up, but the double-handed weapons have a -1 save modifier, so they're only saving on a 6. And they rolled double 6, so the main attacks didn't do anything. The Chaos gift that these were randomly allocated, because if you have Chaos troops, you need to roll d6 with a modifier depending on what the troop is to see what mutations they get, and the mutations that the Chaos Centaurs got were close combat related. So as a result, they get to strike back. Every other combatant gets to strike back with a mutation, and in this case they have got 2 mutations. One is either, well, I'm going to rule that we're not going to be able to use them simultaneously because that would be insane. But they will get another attack with half the count, so let's say for this sake it would be 3, and they can either choose to have +1 to hit or +1 strength. And I think actually they probably want +1 to hit rather than +1 strength because they're already wounding on 2s anyway. So they would need 4s, and if they had a higher weapon skill they'd still need 4s, but if they get +1 they'll need 3s. So they get 2 hits, and that will be at their usual strength of 4 against toughness 3, so 3s. So another wound, and there's no save modifier, so you can save on a 5. They don't. Okay, now we'll do the combat fighting back. So the champion in that unit who was summoned before the game gets 2 attacks, and then there will be 3 regular guys, and then the 3 regular guys, horses. If they were charging, the regular guys would get a strength bonus because they have lances, but they're not, so we can just roll them together anyway. So the red dice will need 5s, and the white dice need 6s. So we get 3 wounds. They have a strength of 3 against a toughness of 4, so they'll need 5s to cause a wound. They get 2 wounds, and the Centaurs have a save of 6 up. So the Centaurs get 2 wounds. So now we would go through to determine the winner. So the Centaurs get a bonus of +1 because they charged, and the Death Riders caused more casualties, so actually it's a deadlock. One thing I didn't do was test for fear for the Chaos Centaurs to charge the Death Riders, just for the sake of seeing what would have happened. I'm going to roll it anyway. They have a leadership of 7, so they wouldn't have actually been able to charge the Death Riders. As it turned out, I think this was favourable to the Death Riders anyway, so I think we're just going to leave that there. Neither side gets pushed back, neither side follows up, and as a result, the Centaurs don't need to flee. Okay, just a bit of reserve movement to finish up the Chaos Dwarf turn. The penalties for moving and shooting only apply if you move in your own turn, so actually by moving in my reserve phase of what will become the previous turn, these guys can get a bit closer, get into short range without having a negative modifier to their bow skill. Now it is going to be the Undead player's turn. I think I'm going to have to declare a charge from the Necromancer's unit into the Chaos Centaurs. That is going to cause some major problems for the Bull Centaurs for two reasons. Firstly, they got charged in the flank while they were in combat, so they need to take a panic test for that. They also need to take a fear test because they are being charged by a fear-causing enemy. So they have a leadership of 7, and with a 9, they are unable to stand their ground, and they will flee. Okay, so now that these Bull Centaurs have fled, in the process of fleeing, units that are in combat with them get a free hack. And so here, this free hack is going to be, because there was already a casualty in this unit, that'll be 4 horses, and then 4 dudes. So 4 horses, 3 dudes, and the champion who has 2 attacks. And now all of these are going to be at strength 3 versus toughness 4, so they're all going to need 5s. And we only get 2. And those 2 will need to save on a 6. So they take another 2 casualties. The Death Riders are immune to psychology, but I don't think that means they're immune to attempting to pursue, and they won't be able to catch the Bull Centaurs. This unit of skeletons will be unable to complete its charge, so it's effectively unformed. So I'm just going to turn the front unit around, and what that means is that unit can now not do anything until the end of its next movement phase. So everyone's now moved, there's no shooting, there's no ongoing combat, there's no one to rally, so we're going to move into the reserve phase. It's now a Chaos Dwarf turn, and another small thing slipped my mind. When this unit fled as a result of being charged by a fear-causing opponent and it routed, that rout can cause panic in adjacent units. So if a unit is within 12 inches or 6 in my world, then it will cause those units to need to take a leadership test. And these 2 units, this unit of Chaos Goblins and this unit of Chaos Dwarfs, are both within the range to need to take a leadership test. This unit of Chaos Dwarf Warriors has leadership of 9, and it fails, so it is also panicking. And this unit of Chaos Goblins has leadership of 5, with level 6, it's also panicking. So these 3 units will need to rally before they can do anything. So really, we've only got these 2 units here who can do anything useful. What we're going to do is have this outermost unit of bowmen, of Chaos Goblin archers rather, fire at the ghouls, so they'll get 10 shots. This unit of Chaos Goblins will fire at the skeletons or at the ghouls. I think realistically it's going to have to fire at the ghouls force. And that ghoul needs to take another leadership test. And they definitely fail that one. And with leadership of 5, it's incredibly unlikely they're going to rally and form any part of what's going to happen in the rest of the game, but they'll still be there nevertheless. Right, and I have remembered that actually, because this unit routed, in theory we should check that these Chaos Goblin units also rout. But given their leadership, I'm almost certain if they do, then that's basically the end of the game, because there's no chance of the entire Chaos Dwarf army being able to rally. Since, although the only units that have been lost is a ghoul, they're going to be at a massive disadvantage, and then they're probably not going to be able to rally. So I'm going to arbitrarily rule as GM and player that that initial breakout of panic doesn't then chain reaction across the entire board. It was involuntary movement for this unit of Bull Centaurs, which I think takes it off the board. It's just shy of the board edge, and that's there. So, but now the Bull Centaurs have a chance to rally. So they have leadership 7. So with a 4, they do rally. Chaos Goblins over here, leading less than a 5, and with a 5, they rally also. They should have moved back their double move, which I'll do now. They should have done that at the start of the turn. Okay, it being the Undead player's turn, they actually, although they're in a dominating position at the moment, it's not gone quite as amazingly as it could have done, because these units, with the exception of these warriors, are all rallied. Okay, against my better judgment, I'm going to allow the Death Riders to charge the flank of these warriors. These warriors need to pass a leadership test of 9 with the general in order to not flee from fear, which they do. But they are still panicked and fleeing from the panic earlier on. And I'm going to interpret the rules as, that means we get a bunch of free hits on this unit as they then try to continue to run away. So let's do that. We'll have the champion, the 4 horses, and the 3 other riders. So let's do the champion first. So champion and the 3 riders. Because the Death Riders are equipped with lances, they get +2 strength in the charge. So they have an effective strength of 5 against an effective toughness of 4. So they'll need 3s to cause wounds. And that's 4 wounds. And so because actually we're in the flank, then there's only 2 models which can possibly be killed as a result of this flank attack. So now the unit will disengage, which gives it its 2.5 inch movement. And the Death Riders will absolutely attempt to pursue, which means they will follow up here. Just move the character out of the way. And because they get back into base to base, it actually means they get another free hack. Now they're in contact with the rear 3 figures, because there's only 5 in a base and 2 of them are dead. So the rear 3 will receive 4 from the horses, so needing 5s. That's 1 from the horse. Does it get saved? No. And then we have 2 from the champion and 3 for the regular, needing 5s because they're strength 3. Yep. This toughness 4. Another 2. So these 2 need to save on a 5 or 6. So one of them saved. So we've got just 1 dwarf in the background there. So this will continue on as this combat won't continue on now because this is all finished, but this will continue on as a combat engagement. Right, so that's the end of, I think, Undead turn 5. Okay, now it's the Chaos Dwarf turn 6. So now things are probably going to go from bad to worse. So this unit over here can do nothing until the rally phase where it can turn around. Right, we're going to declare a charge. We're going to declare a charge from the Chaos Centaur into the flank of the Death Riders. And given that there's only actually 1 Centaur in that unit, I'm going to say that's okay. These 2 units of Chaos Goblins must pass a leadership test to fire into those skeletons. So this left one will need to pass a test on a 5 or less. It does, and this one doesn't. So this unit on the left here will fire with 10 dice, needing 4s to hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 4s to wound. 1, 2, 3. And then saves of 5 or 6. Just 1 casualty from that shooting. These Chaos Goblins will shoot at these ghouls, and these aren't fear-causing creatures and they're not within charge range, so that's okay. But they are at beyond half range, so they'll be firing at -1 to hit, so I need 5s to hit these. 5s to wound, 1 wound, and 1 kill. Because this unit of Death Riders was charged in the flank by this unit of Bull Centaurs, the single Bull Centaur, the Bull Centaur is going to fight with 1 attack, hitting first, weapon skill 3, I guess +1 to hit because he charged, it's 4, and strength of 5 because of double-handed weapons. So weapon skill 4 versus weapon skill 2 needs 3s, hits, and then strength 5 versus toughness 3 needs 2s. Wounds, and he has a -1 save modifier, so saves only on 6. So that's another casualty. So basically we're down to the two riders and the champion in the middle. And because we killed the Death Rider on the flank, there's no one to strike back against the Bull Centaurs. Right, so in this close combat, this unit will automatically move away, and there will be a free hack by the remaining 3 skeleton Death Riders. So that's, there we go, 6 attacks, needing, with weapon skill 3 against weapon skill, oh no, so it's a free hack, sorry, so it's strength 3 versus toughness 4, so 5s. So one attack, and then needing a 5 to save, no save, so remove that rear rank, that's gone completely. And now this unit will double move away. This, because it's, Death Riders is still engaged, it can't actually pursue, so it will stay where it is. So now it's over to the Undead player, turn 7. I think he's going to declare a charge with this unit of skeletons against this unit of Chaos Goblins. So it will move in like so, and as being charged by a fear-causing enemy, this unit of goblins will need to test for fear on their leadership, needing a 5 or less, and they do stand. They do stand. For how long is yet to be determined. And we'll just move the rest of our units, I think. Okay, in the close combat phase over here, we're going to have our champion with 2 attacks fighting the champion in the Chaos Goblin unit. So these Chaos Goblin units have champions in them. And effectively they're going to be opposite each other, and they'll be striking at each other. So the Skeleton champion has a weapon skill of 3, and the Goblin champion has a weapon skill of 4. So the red dice will be hitting on 3s, and the white dice will be hitting on 4s, and the white dice will be hitting on 6s. So we get 1 hit from the Chaos Goblin champion onto the leader of this unit. It's going to be 3s. Causes a wound, and we save on a 5. So we save that. So then, in remainder, then we will have 4 regular skeletons fighting against 4 regular goblins. So and it will be, the goblins will need 3s and the skeletons goblins will need 4s and the skeletons need 6s. So the goblins get 3, the skeletons get 1. The skeletons have strength 3 versus toughness of 3, so 4 got to kill. They cause a casualty, and in return, the goblins have strength of 3 versus toughness of 4, so 4s to cause a wound, 1 wound, and then save on a 5 or 6. So no save. So we've got, there we go. So in terms of determining the winner of this combat, the skeletons have 2 full ranks, so they get +2 to their bonus, and they charge, so +3. So 2 + 3 is 5 versus the 1, which means the Chaos Goblins here have lost and they are pushed back. But because they are fighting a fear-causing enemy that has beaten them in combat, they automatically rout, which means we get the series of free attacks back. So we know that one of those skeletons was killed. So we have 3 regular skeletons plus the 2 from the champion, and they all hit. And it's strength 3 versus toughness 3. 3, it's just 4s to kill, and they kill 2 more. The Chaos Goblins will double move, which puts them there, and then because the Chaos Goblins and the skeletons have exactly the same movement value, the skeletons can just pursue directly, and they will get another free hack. So 4s to kill, and another 2, so one of these units is dead. And that was enough to cause 5 casualties, so there we go. I did play out a further few more turns, but actually the Undead had such a crushing victory and there was no way for the Chaos Dwarfs to recover, so it was fun to play Fantasy 3rd Edition for the first time, but clearly it's showing its age. Super enjoyable and I could recommend it, but not the best.